This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Show, Friday edition. I am Jamie Pags filling in for Mac today, and I am with legendary boxing Hall of Fame writer Jack Hirsch. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Pax. I mean, you're filling in today, but it felt yesterday like you were on the show. You did contribute with the comments.
Yeah, I showed up late and you guys were talking about something that I actually know a little bit about. So it was a lot of fun for me to be able to interject what I could. And yeah, like I says, it's one of those that's one of those things. We'll talk about it a little bit later because I have some more information for you guys so that you guys could be able to learn a little bit about what goes into that whole situation. Because I mean, obviously that's not just one day, that's 8 days worth of running. So and there's
running with the
you know
Bulls is 8 days.
8 days.
Are you kidding? I thought it was one of these half-hour things. 15
No,
minutes to
actually,
just run
the
down the
the
alleyway.
the run itself lasts about a total of about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's it. So it's only 1,000 yards from where they keep the bulls to where the arena is. And they just run straight down the street. And you'll see from the video, I don't know if you've done a little bit of research, but I got the video from this year. So, and we got day 7, where it was the most interesting of the runs. Day 8 only had 6 minor injuries. Day 7 had a little bit more happening and such, so you get to kind of see full effect. And like I said, we'll do that once we come back from the break a little bit later, just to kind of talk about that. See if maybe Keith has any interest in doing any running with the Bulls at his age. So, but anyways, there was some sports that did happen yesterday, even though it was a fairly quiet day. Your Yankees played.
Quiet day, Pax. There's no such thing as a quiet day in sports.
Well, it was quieter.
Even Christmas Day. That NFL's putting on like 3 games now. Yep. New Year's Day, there's a ton of games always. There's no such thing as a quiet day in sports. It
Correct.
goes around the clock. And I remember the comedian Dick Cavett. He really wasn't a sports fan, but they asked him. He says, yeah, I like to watch the games. Then I don't watch for a few weeks. And then I tune it on. There's games on. And, and they can't get enough programming. It's crazy the way they're filling it in. I mean, every little thing. I mean, what is poker sport, for example? Is billiards a sport?
So I look at those as competitions. Poker is a game of skill. Billiards is a game of skill. I don't look at them as sports per se. However, they do fall into the competition realm. And that's what when I think of why ESPN is showing those there, that it's the competition portion that they are showing. That's why, ESPN used to show the chess matches. Did they not?
They show the spelling bee. Joey Chestnut, is he an athlete?
So if you ask Joey, he would say that he is.
If he is, okay, the hot dog eating king, then he's pound for pound the greatest athlete in the world.
Well,
I could call him the greatest.
Yes and no. So that was the last year, or I think next year is the last year of his contract with Nathan's. And afterwards, because Kobayashi hasn't been a part of this. So you notice that
Because he
Kobayashi,
kicked Kobayashi's behind in the contest, Pags. He
well,
would beat Kobayashi by 12 to 15 hot dogs.
Kobayashi wound up, originally had a contract, now no longer has that contract. So Joey Chestnut now hasn't been able to go up against Kobayashi for the last 4 years. So once he gets through with his contract, they are going to meet again in another hot dog eating competition.
And
However, Joey
Joey
Chestnut,
Chestnut is so far ahead of him. Are you
he
kidding?
couldn't beat the Black Widow. He
That's
couldn't beat the
like
Black
Bryce
Widow with the
Harper
wings.
against Didi Gregorius in a home run contest. I mean, come on.
I don't
Didi will
know.
hang in for a little while and then Harper pulls away. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but then I see like the Black Widow come in there, and and I've seen her eat tons of stuff. And she's a small little thing. To be able to fill her stomach like that is absolutely amazing. That they're able to. I mean, Joey Chestnut's a big guy, and not only did he have a broken leg and eating a bunch of hot dogs, but he then wrestled that guy down for putting the sign and knocking him over a little bit. So I mean,
I
he
think
was.
he was wrestling down while he was still eating one of the dogs,
Yes,
too.
he was. Yes, he was. But he's a
No,
big guy. So
they got the other food contests too, like the pastrami records. I'm not sure whether they have the Philly cheesesteak records. A Philly cheesesteaks, and we're going to get off the eating. I don't know how we got on that to start the show. I hope we're going to
well,
talk
you brought it up.
sports
So
today. Don't leave all the viewers because we're going to get to the sports. But I got to find out, is the Philly cheesesteak as good outside of Philadelphia as in Philadelphia? If I order my Philly cheesesteak in New York, is it as good as the ones made actually in Philly itself?
no, no, and there's a very specific reason why it's not. And it's not the steak is any different. Not the cheese is any different. It is the roll, the bread.
Mm.
And for some reason or another, it comes down to the fact that we think it has to do with the chemicals in the water that they use, and the fact that it's water and not water, and the air that as it's rising here, like because I have heard places that have shipped water to other locations so that they can make the bread and use the same ingredients as they do in Philly, and it's not any different at all. And they still can't get the bread right. So it has to do with the atmosphere, has to do with like I said, the chemicals that the Philadelphia puts in the water here in comparison to other places. I have been in very few locations that a cheesesteak can even hold a candle to a cheesesteak in Philly. And the places that I have where they could hold a candle, those guys were Philly guys that either have the rolls flown out. They get the Amoroso rolls flown to their location on a daily basis, or they have some type of unique type of situation where they're able to mimic the making of the bread in
Okay.
a way that matches.
Well, I'll tell you now. Now let's get to sports. That's what we're a sports show. We're talking about food. I mean, someone may have thought they had the food channel here. Philly sports, the big four sports, the four major sports in Philly. Actually, things are looking up in three of the four. I mean, the Phillies are now in wild card contention, and considering where they were a few weeks ago, they have to be pleased with where they are at this moment, and things might get a lot better. So they're on the cusp of a playoff position, but it has a long way to go. Okay, the
Right.
Eagles made great offseason moves, and I actually think they're going to be favored to win the division over the Cowboys. Anything less than making the playoffs is going to be a major disappointment for the Eagles. So considering where they were last year at this time, things are looking up. And James Harden taking the pay cut. Things seem to have calmed down in Philadelphia. There's a little promise for them now to make certain moves. And let's see if guys like not just Harden, Tobias Harris wages a bit of a comeback. Maxey keeps, hitting his potential more and more, and Embiid stays healthy. they might make a run towards the NBA title. Of course, they could fall flat too, but the potential is there. Only the Philadelphia Flyers you could shake your head at with disgust. I mean, so you could forget the Flyers. You know what you could do? Put the Flyers on the sports inactive list for 1 year. For 1 year, tell Philly fans not to pay attention to them. Let them get their house in order and just pay attention to the other three sports. Treat the Flyers like they don't exist for one season until they can get it together, because that team seems to have gone from bad to worse.
Well, not I agree with you, and you're starting me off. I wanted to try to be in a good mood on a Friday, and you're starting me off with
I
the
said
Flyers.
ignore them. Ignore them. Don't
Yeah,
let it bother you. Could you imagine when someone says to someone else, "Don't let it bother you. Don't let it bother you"? They keep reminding them of what bothers them. So of course it does bother them.
exactly. And I kind of look at this as maybe that Philadelphia will realize that there is a fifth franchise in the city, and that the Union, the soccer, when I know that doesn't get a lot of play on
Yeah.
this show, but the Union are actually a championship caliber team, and that with the Flyers being so bad, and just the way that the sports are trending, there is thoughts right now that right now, I think the Flyers are listed at 650 worth of $650 million. The Union, in retrospect, is worth $350 million. And the way that the MLS is trending in comparison to the NHL, they're saying that MLS franchises are likely to surpass NHL franchises in less than 5 years. That
You're
so that
telling me
within
you
the
can
next 5
fly,
years.
wait. The Flyers could conceivably be sold for 650 million.
That's the listed worth
I
of
mean,
the.
thinking of what teams go for, to go for 1/3 less than $1 billion is kind of a decent price. I mean, if someone is filthy rich, like one of these billionaires, they have like $3 billion, they want to kind of like invest part of it in the team. Interesting. I mean, I think it's Steve Cohen, the Met owner, who has 14 billion. Maybe spend a little less on these crazy free agent contracts and buy the Philadelphia Flyers. It might be a little bit fun.
I would welcome somebody. They need a clean, a new face, somebody fresh to come in and take over for Comcast. Comcast has been way too corporate. They have been making decisions that are more on just making sure that they have people in the stands and selling and buying merchandise. I tell you, the Philly fan, the Flyers fan, has been the most faithful of all the Philadelphia sports.
There have been a lot of empty seats, Pax.
Well,
They haven't been
this
selling out.
last year, and you're going to see a lot more. And that's so. What I'm saying is that over the years, over the 50 years, the Flyers faithful have been faithful. That they would always have 13 to 15,000 sets of season tickets sold. The building only holds close to 18,000. So they would have those tickets already there. You would look like a packed house most of the time. And this year, I mean, the fans have just had it. They've just had it, and it is from the top down. Ed Snyder asked Dave Scott to take control of this team and to take care of this team for him, and Dave Scott has just let it fall to the ground. It is on fire, and right now is the laughing stock of the NHL.
Wait.
And
How far drive is it on average for the Philly fan to see the Devils play in Jersey?
it'd be
On
about
average.
at least it would be at least an hour.
Oh, that's not bad. Let's say the Devils. I mean, the Devils are not that much better than the Flyers, but they have a lot of young pieces, led by Jack Hughes, and there's upside there. But let's say the Devils were an elite NHL team. Would that make it worse for the Flyers, considering the proximity? Would that disgust the fans more to see a great team that's basically next door. When they're an hour away, that's pretty close.
I mean, I guess it would bother them some. I think it bothers them more about Pittsburgh. Than a team in our state where it's even further
Well,
away.
Pittsburgh,
Obviously,
yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, Eva. It's just the same state. But the New York teams don't care about the Buffalo Bill, the New York City teams, the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres. They couldn't
well,
care
they don't
less.
care about the Sabres. I'm sure they care a little bit about the Bills. The Jets care about the
No,
Bills some.
well, in the division, that's all there is to it. But it's they care more. I mean, it hurts a Jet fan more to lose to the New England Patriots than it does the Buffalo Bills. It might even hurt them more to lose to the Miami Dolphins than the
So
Bills.
in Philadelphia Flyers world, I look at the Penguins similar to the way I look at the Dallas Cowboys. So in hockey's, uh, the Penguins are hated to the Flyers. The Devils definitely have. Yeah, you don't like the Devils, you don't like the Rangers, you don't like the Islanders, you don't like the Penguins. The
Hags, you don't
Capitals
like
were
the
like meh.
Cowboys. No, you don't like the Cowboys because of their swagger or their perceived swagger. Now, they used to have the swagger. They're still trying to have it, but they just can't. But they're not good enough quite to have it right now. But you see Jerry Jones in the box. I mean, Eagle fans, it doesn't thrill them. The constant focus on Jerry and so on. And they had, Ezekiel Elliott, who's kind of flaming out a bit now. Zach Prescott, I mean, just hasn't gone to the next step, even though he's a top quarterback. And the Eagles are the ones with the swagger now. When you think of it, when you look at some of their players, not their quarterback, he'll never have a swagger. Jalen Hurts, he's kind of like a workman-like guy, quiet,
Right.
humble guy, goes about doing his job. There's nothing flamboyant about him. But in the wide receiver position, they certainly have that swagger, that glitz.
So, well, yeah, I absolutely, and I feel that swagger is like the mentality. I feel that this team takes on a working man's idea. I don't look at Dallas as a blue collar city. Philadelphia is absolutely a blue collar city, and we want lunch pail players. Guys that are bringing their lunch to work, the guys that are giving it all every play, and that's because that's how we feel we live our lives. We give ourselves 100% all the time. That's why Philadelphia fans are so passionate because they give it their all. They don't know how to do anything different. And we want the same thing from our players. That's why Ben Simmons was so maligned here because he wasn't doing the things. They didn't, they don't do all of the things. If you're a player and you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, we're going to let you know about it, and you're going to hear about it.
Simmons was maligned because the 76er fans needed a scapegoat. When a team doesn't live up to expectations,
No.
why, point why, and they weren't going to point to Joel Embiid because the Sixer fans don't want to send Joel Embiid out of town because they know how good he is. If they get on Joel Embiid, he's going to want to get traded, okay? And they don't want that because the Sixer fans know what they have in Joel Embiid. So you go to the 1A guy, Ben Simmons. You don't realize he'll be that sensitive. Ben Simmons had no offense in that series the year before last when they lost to Atlanta, passing up an open shot. See, he was kind of the easy target. It was like when the Phillies lost the World Series to the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, they'll blame Mitch Williams. I mean, someone's had to get the blame. And that's what usually goes on. And even if a team's winning, you look for scapegoats. The Yankee fans tried to get on Joey Gallo because Joey Gallo's hitting like 164. But I'm looking at what he did yesterday. Joey Gallo was up 4 times, I think, okay? And 4 or 5 times. He went 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, I forgot. But he got 2 walks. So his on-base percentage was actually good. I mean, what would have been the difference? He gets up with no one on base if he hit a single or got a walk. So he performed that way. And then the Yankees had a guy who they picked up from St. Louis, a 3-time All-Star, Matt Carpenter, who's really been hitting the heck out of the ball. He's hitting about 340, but they put him in right field. He misplayed 2 balls. It was like one of them, he holds the ball. He's not sure which base to throw to. And the next guy scores because he's hesitating, holding the ball in right field. That's the one thing a big league doesn't do. He has to know exactly beforehand where he's going with the ball. You can't hesitate with a guy rounding the base. And then another ball was Matt Carpenter's in right field. It's hit between center field and right field. And I couldn't believe it. The ball gets by him. It reminded me of my Little League days when, there'd be no fence. I'd be a first baseman. I watched the outfield and the ball would roll and it would never stop rolling. And I'm thinking, why didn't he cut it off? Just get your glove on the darn thing, knock it down. And but he's hitting about 340. So no one is going to get on him. Everyone's going to be gentle. Well, he was hurt. He hasn't played right field for a while, this and that. And some guys are just scapegoats. But the Philly fans, if the Eagles, even if you make the playoffs, let's say you win the division, you get eliminated in the first game of the playoffs, and it's a bad game. You lose by 3 touchdowns or whatever. Someone is going to get blamed. Who's going to be the easiest mark? If Hurts plays a good game by some chance and they still get eliminated, who's going to get the blame? The Eagle fans are going to find someone somehow. And if it can't be a player, they're going to point to the coach or whatever.
Yeah, but I think that's all in all sports. I think that any fan base is always going to look for the reason why this team lost. So where in the case of that we're talking about with Ben Simmons had an open shot underneath the basket, quick layup, could have dunked the ball, chose to pass it out, and there was no time left on the clock. They wound up getting a 24-second violation there. And okay, now it's like, and that was an easy target because he decided every fourth quarter he didn't want to shoot, that he was a detriment to being out there on the offensive side because you were playing 4-on-5, where his defense on the opposite side of the court, it actually mattered a little bit. But when you went back down, you almost had to take him out because you wanted somebody who could actually shoot.
Young, but he shut down Trae Young, and the Sixer fans couldn't care less.
Well, that's because they still lost the game. Because they still lost the game. And they lost because of stupid decisions that were being made by one of the players on the court. And that one player happened to be Ben Simmons. And when the coach said, well, I don't know, he, in essence, threw shade at Ben Simmons, and Ben didn't like it. And he says, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Wah, wah, wah. But you guys got to still pay me. And then I'm going to play the game where I'm mentally ill. I can't handle all of this. I'm surprised. Do you think he's going to play for the Nets?
Let me tell you what surprises me, that he didn't play for the Nets at all last year. And is his back that bad?
I don't know. I don't know. But you saw him fishing. You saw him out there deep sea fishing.
I'm going to tell you, it's a terrible look that if a player's out, he's doing all these activities, especially with social media, because people take things out of context. Not that the players shouldn't be doing it. Remember when the Chicago Bears won a big playoff game, Jay Cutler had to go out, okay, because of his knee. But you see him during the game standing on the sideline, and people were complaining, well, with the game on the line, he should have forced himself in. I gave Cutler the benefit of the doubt. Your knee's bothering you. It doesn't mean you can't stand up, and look, because sometimes you get antsy sitting. And there's a big difference between running around if you're hurt as opposed to just standing and pacing a little bit back and forth. But listen, it's about perception. Even like the great Michael Jordan, he goes to Atlantic City before Bull Knick playoff game. And never mind, that probably was good for him as opposed to staying in the room because Jordan's a hyper type in that regard. And it would have driven him up the wall if he had to go to sleep early or just sit there and watch TV. So going to Atlantic City and gambling actually relaxed the guy. That was his thing. And
Right.
but people criticize him. Oh, how can you do that like before a game? It shows you don't care, they say. But they know in Jordan's case, he obviously cared. But if anyone else did that, any other player was at AC the night before, you open yourself up for criticism. So I think players have to understand the perception involved, how they should look in a certain, sense, and be careful what they do.
Well, think about it. Think about that one picture that the Giants took on the boat. I think it was the OBJ took that picture, and they have not really been relevant since that picture. That was like they were all on the boat before the playoffs, and then they lost that playoff game, and they haven't really done well since then. That picture still kind of haunts them. And now, of course, Odell's got a ring with the Rams. So, I mean, that's got to probably sting even a little bit more for them. But, I mean, I feel that players are going to do what the players do. And if you got back problems, you don't want to show on social media that you were deep sea fishing. Because I tell you, deep sea fishing's hard work. It's not I guess you could call it a sport because it's you against a fish. But realistically, it's very active. If you get a fish on and you're fighting a fish, that's going to give a lot of strain to your back.
Yeah, Pags. I mean, we started the show talking about running with the bulls. We don't want to lose the viewers talking about deep sea fishing unless you think it's relevant and you can educate us.
I think that Ben Simmons is relevant. That's what I'm talking about.
Perception, why athletes have to be aware of what they are doing, but some flat out don't care. The 1992 World, was it 92 and 93 where the Phillies lost to the Jays?
93.
93, I'm sorry. Curt Schilling's out of the game. Mitch Williams, who we mentioned before, is on the mound. Curt Schilling has the towel over his face. You mean to tell me Curt Schilling isn't aware he's in the dugout, that the cameras are going to be on him, that it's not embarrassing towards a teammate? I
believe it was ultimately one of the reasons why he was shipped out of here.
They were
because of that.
You mean Curt Schilling was shipped out?
Yeah, Curt Schilling wound up going to
I don't think that,
Arizona.
No, I can't believe that would have been a reason because Curt Schilling was an elite pitcher. So the Phillies, I don't think, would have looked to ever get rid of a guy like that over that action. But, sometimes if a guy's a close buddy of yours and he's on the mound and you have the towel, people are going to understand you're taking it as a way that you're nervous, you're not knocking him. But especially if you and that other guy don't have a good relationship. It was Bush. And Curt Schilling, of course, made some type of excuse about it. And
right.
I didn't like it at the time. I mean, you just
and neither did we. I mean, it definitely threw shade at a teammate. During a time when he's out there. And he was, there was a lot of other things that were happening with Mitch Williams at that time that it was starting to affect him. And really, Fergosi probably shouldn't have used him. It was like you saw what was happening. He had already given up a number of games. I mean, my 21st birthday was the game that the Phillies lost 15-13. That they were up in that game a number of times, and Mitch Williams gave the game up again.
That was the fourth game, I think, right?
I believe so. Yeah, that was my 21st birthday, and I remember, literally, in the fog of my 21st birthday, because I did a 21-gun salute that day. It was, just watching that and just seeing that he just didn't have his stuff. He normally threw 94, 95 miles an hour. And he was pitching at like 85, 86, 87
That was quick at the
hour.
time. 95 miles per hour was considered quick at that time.
Right.
Now we got guys, hitting the radar, the 100.
Yeah, hitting over 100 and such like that. So and with consistency with the over 100. It used to be that there was only one or two pitchers that could throw the balls 100 miles an hour, and they would get there once or twice a game. Now you got guys that can throw 100 miles an hour, pitch after pitch after pitch.
Yeah.
So, but that those guys get hit as well, just the same, because you know, if you're a batter, you're able to swing just as fast. So, and those balls like to go out, travel out faster because the exit velocity winds up being much faster.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, uh, I'm done talking about Philly for a moment. How about your Yankees? Your Yankees lose 2 or 3 to the Reds. Are the
Yeah.
wheels starting to fall off?
They're not going to keep up the pace. And the wheels can't fall off completely. I was wrong in one sense. They got too big a lead, I feel, not to make the playoffs. But I'm going to tell you, I can see, I hate to use the word collapse. I could see the Yankees running into trouble where at some point the papers are going to say the Yankees are only 7 games up in the playoff position, and there'll be actually some concern, like going on over there. Everything went perfect for the Yankees. Everything this year. I mean, Jose Trevino, who the heck is he? Winding up being an all-star, their catcher. I mean, they were doing patchwork in the catcher position. They traded Gary Sanchez. They felt, let's just get defense there. But they got some offense. But with that said, I don't see Trevino playing in like an all-star the second half. I mean, he's exceeded expectations. Clay Holmes closing for them with Chapman being out. Is he going to keep that up? You kind of have to wonder. Nestor Cortez, who was great last year, great at the beginning of this year, is now kind of slowed down a little bit. Is he necessarily going to keep it up? And a number of other guys, as well. Who says Josh Donaldson's going to start hitting? Matt Carpenter comes from St. Louis. He's hitting, like I said before, around 340. Is he really going to keep it up? Guys are a number of them are going to come down to earth a bit. And the loss a couple of nights ago when they were beating Cincinnati 3-0 going into the 9th inning, and to lose that game. Yeah, I do think the wheels are going to start coming off, but I think they're, have such a big lead. Okay. I mean, I'd be more concerned now, not the wheels coming off during the regular season, but what's going to happen. You make the playoffs. You even take a team that's been floundering lately, the Boston Red Sox. They might not make the playoffs. They're just one of a number of contending teams right now. They just lost 4 in a row to Tampa Bay Rays. Let's say the Red Sox make the playoffs and they're playing the Yankees. First 2 games, they're throwing at them Chris Sale and Nate Eovaldi. They're throwing at them top of the line pitching. It's a whole different animal there, the playoffs. And the Yankees situation, let's say the year ends and they win 102, 103 games or whatever. Okay, some people have them on a higher pace than that, but the 2 red losses put things in perspective a bit. But let's say they win 102 games and they get eliminated at any point in the playoffs. All the talk that quieted down. And we had Joe Girardi type talk in New York about Aaron Boone. Maybe not as intense, because with Girardi, it was a daily watch. When you lose constantly, it piles up. And the Yankees weren't losing as consistently as the Phillies. They won more. But the beef with the Yankees was the team hasn't been in the World Series since 2009. Never mind, they haven't had a losing record in like 30 years. That's what people are going to remember at the end tags. They're not going to remember how wonderful the Yankee year is. And because the Yankees have been doing virtually nothing but winning this year, how do you criticize Aaron Boone? How do you criticize the GM Brian Cashman? So you look towards Joey Gallo, hitting his like 164, whatever. And you say, oh, the Yankees got to get rid of him. They got to do this. They got to do that. But every move made, it seemed to work out. And even guys who aren't hitting much in balance, like Josh Donaldson, even though he's done a bit better the last 3-4 weeks, you know, they're kind of in a way doing it with mirrors, and you kind of wonder whether this is going to be sustained. But at the end of the day, you could say it best. You only remember where you wind up playoffs. The Sixers losing the year before last to the Atlanta Hawks. I don't remember what they did during the regular season. Does anyone remember? Did they have the best record in the NBA? I don't remember. They may have. I don't remember. You might not remember. Who had the best record in the NBA? We forget. All we know is that the Sixers got eliminated by the Hawks, and they had that disastrous fifth game, I think it was in the series, where they had a 25-point lead that was disintegrating little by little by little, and we waited for the Sixers to nail the game down. The game was there to win for about 45 minutes. And then, about 45 minutes have gone by in the lead, and they lose it. I mean, nothing.
I will never forget that because I made a video. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, as the start of the fourth quarter. I literally made a video that the Sixers were up by 18 and that there was no way that they were going to lose this game, that they were going to beat Atlanta and they were going to put a dagger in the hearts of all of Atlanta fans. That video went mega viral because the Sixers lost that game. And I literally
was that going on during the game?
I did it. I made the video. I was at the game, and I made the video at the end of the third period.
You may have contributed to the Sixers losing then, because how do you know the way things get around? The Hawks didn't somehow get wind of it, someone behind the bench, and it could have inspired them a bit.
They were. I actually was going back and forth with a couple of the Hawks players. They actually started we kind of bantered back and forth some. Fun banter. I mean, it wasn't stuff like I don't ever go crazy like some of the things that you hear happen to be said to LeBron James and such like that. I like to keep things fun. But like Ben Simmons, interestingly enough, made a foul shot, and who was the guy? He was. One of the forwards from the Atlanta team grabs the ball and bounces it. And I'm like, what are you doing holding that ball? What do you need to touch the balls for? And then he turns to me and he goes, I like playing with the balls, and grabbed himself and blew me a kiss. And of course, everybody there is like, did you see that? I'm like, of course I saw that, but it's, it was just that Atlanta was just looser, and, I call it the butthole pucker. That's what the Sixers had. They started to tighten up, and they started to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And next thing you know, they wound up losing that game. I had no words. Afterwards. I made another video saying I don't even know what to say here. I don't even know what to say.
If they beat, we said we were getting off Philly sports, but we didn't talk hypotheticals. Had they closed that series out against Atlanta, do they beat Milwaukee and go to the finals?
I think they were better suited to go up against Milwaukee. However, the way that Ben Simmons was playing, the way that Tobias Harris was playing was not really up to par, and it would have been really tough. I think that Milwaukee had our number that year, and they may have even swept the series, the season series against us, or we may have taken one of the 4 games. But I don't know that we would have gotten past Milwaukee. Milwaukee was a really tough team. However, that's why we play the games. So it's being the number 1 seed, we would have had home advantage. We didn't have the best record that year. That was Phoenix. So Phoenix did have the best record. Right. Phoenix wound up being the number 1 seed.
And they blew a 2-0 lead to Milwaukee in the finals. How do you live that down? I mean, you're so close to a championship. Things are going your way. You're up 2-0, and then you lose 4 in a row. And then Phoenix had the best record in the NBA this season. And then they lose to the Mavericks in the finals. I mean, I think they went up 2-0 there, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, you have no business losing to Dallas. I mean, Dallas was a good, solid team with Luka and Brunson, who's now a Knick. But you can't lose to a Dallas Maverick team. You just
Yeah,
can't.
weren't the Suns bitten by a little bit of an injury bug at that time? Like, weren't they also like hurting a little bit, and they didn't have the full squad that they had during the regular season?
They had
I mean, I
Devin
ain't trying to make
Booker.
excuses for Phoenix, but
No, they had Devin Booker, Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and they just shut down, especially the game they got eliminated at. It's in Phoenix, and it was the craziest game. I mean, it's already halftime and they're down, and I'm not exaggerating. I think they're down something like 45 points, at halftime,
right,
approximately. Okay,
right,
maybe been 50 points. I'm serious. I never saw anything like it. Like you're looking at the score and you can't believe what you're seeing. It's
right.
halftime, and I don't want to say the game's over, but it's the type of thing, even if you outscore the other team by 25 points in the next quarter, you're going to be down 22, 23 going into the final one. It's insane.
Yeah,
And
it's dejecting. It's dejecting when you can't seem to
oh,
make a basket and the other team is doing that much better. I mean, I witnessed a couple of Sixers games this year where Boston's shooting 65% in the first half from three and in front of the arc. It's like, how do when they're shooting that well and everything seems to be going in, and it didn't matter who was shooting the ball. It seemed like just every shot that went in just went in.
yeah.
And of course, the Sixers, to combat that, wound up trying to shoot threes themselves, and they didn't really go very far. So they wound up losing by 40 points. They lost to the Nets by 40 points on the Ben Simmons game. So there were a number of times where the Sixers just they were going, they were playing somebody that they were supposed to be able to compete with, and then they just didn't show up that day. So and there's days like that are going to happen, but when they happen in the playoffs, I mean that's even worse, and that's exactly what happened with Phoenix. I mean, I remember they were down by like close to 60 points at one time.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're down by that much, like there's no way of coming back. You might as well just call the mercy rule. You know what I mean? Hey, if you're down by 50 points at any point in the game, you lose. Game's
No,
over.
I mean, yeah, Pags. Come on, you're being ridiculous. You're going to send the people home. They're paying good money for a ticket, and you're going to say, okay, game is over. It's the people there. It's
Well, I mean,
entertainment.
so let
You
me
know,
tell you, when
you're
the
not playing in
Sixers
an
were
empty.
down by close to 50 points against Boston, do you think anybody stayed in that
You know
game?
what you do? You empty your bench, and the guys who hardly get to play get in some work. That's what bothers me with sports, Pags, especially football. Uh, Teams have a thing. The mentality in sports is don't rub it in an opponent's face. You're beating them a lot. If you're beating a team by 35 points and it's the middle of the third quarter, okay, put in your backups. Let your third string quarterback throw the ball. Let him get work because you might need him another time with injuries in a big game. And this way, he's getting in some work, some experience, rather than just hand the ball off. I mean, any clown could hand the ball off. I mean, you could train anyone to just basically take a snap and hand the ball off and do nothing else. Okay,
Right.
on that. Let them pass, let them run offenses, let them try to score. You're not rubbing it in the opponent's face. But it's that like sick mentality in sports, like not to show someone up. Let me ask you, next week, the Jeter documentary starts, the series. You're going to be watching it.
Yes. Yes. I was a Jeter fan. Even though he was a Yankee, I just felt like Jeter was a guy who played. He put it out on the field every day at 100%, and I appreciate that type of play and that type of greatness. So when somebody has that much respect for the game, where they're going to lay themselves out on the line every day, you gotta appreciate that. And Jeter was one of those guys that I felt did that. And so yes, I will do that. I will watch that, even though I'm not a Yankees fan. I was a Jeter fan. Yeah,
I
and
was
I
at that game where he, on a dead run. He caught the ball, hit down the left field line and went diving into the stands.
Face first to face
Wow.
first into the seat. You know what I
Let
mean?
me tell you
I
what
won't forget
scares
that.
me, Pax. What scares me is a spectator could have gotten seriously hurt. I'm not blaming Jeter, not at all. Jeter did what he had to do. But I would kind of like to see Major League Baseball and the NBA as well adopt a rule. You make contact with a spectator in the stands, you don't get credit for the out. An NBA player doesn't get credit for saving the ball. Someone's going to get hurt. Imagine they had someone's holding a baby, a little kid, and Jeter full force runs into him. And again, Jeter was just doing his job. Kudos to Jeter for putting out 100% the way he did. I mean, tremendous admiration I have for him on that play. So it's not a knock on Jeter or any other player who dives into the stands. There's a difference. If the fans in the bleachers and you try to rob someone of a home run, you're not going to hurt them in the sense because you're not running full force into them. You might make some contact, but they have to know to back off too. They could back off because all the guys do is jumping up trying to catch the ball. But that play scares me. Shaquille O'Neal used to occasionally dive to try to get a ball with his big body. And there are people there on the side. What are we waiting for, Pax? For someone to actually get killed? And then they're going to have a new rule. Spectators have to be 10 feet back.
Well, they listed on the ticket. And first off, in baseball, Jeter couldn't make that play anymore because now they have nets. So he wouldn't be able to dive into the stands like that anymore. And it says on the tickets you got to pay attention to what's happening.
No, wait. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Jeter did not catch the ball in the stands. He caught it when it was on the field, but his momentum was such he was running at top speed. He couldn't stop. He had to wind up in the stands.
How you doing, Byron? Good to see you this morning. I'm running a little bit late today, so I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Byron should get fined. He came on late here. Let that be a fine.
Parcells paid me $5,000 for being 5 minutes late.
Did you know the story? I think there was a $5,000 fine, and I don't believe it was $5,000. Another wide receiver, Vince Lombardi, fined Max McGee for running all night out with a woman and so on. And he announced it in front of the team. $5,000 you're running off with that woman. And he says, and if you go out with again, it's going to be like $5,000. It's going to be $10,000. And then he says, McGee, and if she's worth that, let me know because I'm going with you. Lombardi said.
Hey, that was the real coaches. They everything came with a lesson,
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Byron, it's good to see you because you were being talked about yesterday. And I don't know if you were paying attention to the show at all, but Jack had made a couple of statements that he first off let's say
I complimented Byron. I think I did. What do you?
Well, you mentioned about the fact that his hands may not have been the best, and I threw back a little bit saying that they could have said the same thing about you, Jack, but. So my first question for you, and this is not really football related.
Okay.
Have you ever gone skydiving?
I haven't.
Would you consider it?
I don't know if my knees would hold up if I wanted. I don't know. I would consider it, yes, because I think I did some things. I used to work some constructions, and I would. I worked some high buildings before, and I, was up in the air quite a bit. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I think I could do it.
All right. Well, this may lead right into my second question. Would you go to Pamplona to run with the Bulls?
To run with the Bulls? Oh no, I wouldn't do that.
Wait. I was saying what I was saying, and I was talking about Byron, you and Jeff Coat. What if you had a choice? Let's say someone had fear of heights and they're scared to run with the Bulls, but they had to pick one out of the two, like cutting the middle of being in the pile. I say you would run with the Bulls because you could run fast. You were elusive. you would be able to avoid the bulls. We're talking about when we were young men, and
Oh, yeah.
at the peak, when you were lightning quick, when you were young, you would avoid the bulls. Jeffcoat wouldn't avoid the bulls. He'd have to skydive. Jeffcoat would turn around and think he could take a bull on. The bull would tear Jeffcoat up.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
The bulls.
I agree with that. And I could probably do both better than Jeffcoat.
Yeah, I mean, you would avoid the bulls. The bull would come at you one way. You're used to like faking on a pass pattern. You would throw the bull off. The bull might tear his ACL going after you, Byron.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would do both. I would be great in both. Back in the day, I would love challenges. I mean, when I was in college, I was always the best athlete to run. If we had to run 10 miles, I always come in first or second. I mean, I was in the top 2 in everything, all the events. Even, I just love the challenge, and I would probably be at the top. I know I could probably do both, no doubt.
So that's what I was saying, Pax, that Byron, between the two, I mean, running with the bulls, he would do it great. He'd be quicker than all the other people out there running away from the bulls. You got to consider that. Do you mean to tell me the bulls are going to run by all the other people and focus on Byron?
Oh, no.
People. They'll be Byron's blockers in a sense, because they'll have a wall of people and he'll be ahead of the pack.
When I played in the World League and we played in Barcelona, Spain, and we didn't have no real good fields to practice in, so it reminded me we did have those indoor arenas where the bulls and stuff. Those people come in and do the bulls and things like that. That reminded me of back then in Barcelona, Spain, the year 1992, 91, when they were getting ready for the Olympics, right? And we had to practice. We couldn't practice in real football fields and stuff. It reminded me of that day, and I was always lead the charge in practice and stuff. So yeah, I would probably be the guy that could probably, be excited about being challenged by the bulls. I would be that guy.
So after running, would you play Matador and actually do the whole red cape thing and kill the bull with the sword?
I think that would be interesting sports because you become a hero if you can do that. So I love to be a hero. So I think I would. It would be a challenge, but I think I would love to be considered to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm full. I have that on my bucket list, and they were talking about it yesterday. So, and I know that your name came up during the middle of that, and I was like, I think Byron could do the running of the bulls. I said maybe not right now with the knees feeling the way they are, but back in the day, it's.
But we all agree it wouldn't be for Jeffcoat.
No, it wouldn't be for Jeffcoat. It wouldn't be for Jeff. But actually, my knees and stuff feel pretty good. I've been preparing I got a football camp tomorrow. It's a quarterback camp and a wide receiver camp, and I've been running all week, so I'm really ready to go. Me and Quincy Carter, he had asked me to come out and help him with a receiver camp, and so I'm excited about going out in the morning. I've been running all week, so I'm in shape this week, so I feel pretty good.
So when you're doing these camps, what do you focus on for some of these younger wide receivers? Is it more about the route running, or is it more about the hand placement when the ball's coming in? I guess everything it falls into that camp where you're spending time where somebody needs it. But where would you say most of the focus is that somebody who's young, they need more? I figure somebody who can catch the ball can catch the ball.
Right.
But they may not be the crispest of route runners, and what makes them crisp and such like that. Where would you say most of your focus is on some of these camps?
I think mostly it's going to be definitely the fundamental aspect for us, the little things. Like I sometimes I put a number on a football, and every time I throw the football at a kid, he need to call that number after me. So it's pinpoint a position on the ball, eye-hand coordination, agilities, where they move their arms in and out of the breaks, and then stand on the ball of their feet, making sure that they're on the ball of their feet when they're breaking and cutting on the routes. And then also, I'm looking at if they nose and their eyes coordinate locating the ball, right? So those are things like that I really teach, and I make fundamental points, making sure that these kids can do that. And then at the end, if they're dropping the ball, they have to give me 10 fingertip push-ups.
Fingertip push-ups.
Yeah, fingertip
I
push-ups.
mean,
Fingertip push-up because you have to catch the ball with your fingers, right? And so Paul Selstrom had some gloves with a it was a pad in the middle of a glove. So when you catch the ball, you catch it with your fingers. If the ball hit the palm of the gloves, guess what's gonna happen? The ball bounces out. So I got some gloves like that I had made, but I'm not taking them tomorrow. But those are the things that I have really tried to introduce to the camp to make sure kids think about that. And another thing that I do that I don't tell a lot of people is I make you sleep with a football, because that football is your baby, right? So you need to know the weight of the football, the size of the football, catch the football. I'm actually catching the football right now, putting my hand right here, and not have a football.
what were you do? You're checking a curfew, and one of the players is using the football as a pillow to elevate his head or something. Does that defeat the purpose?
No, that doesn't defeat the purpose. It's kind of make sure that that's a part of you. It's a unit, right? So, in fact, my young boys, my little boys, they just went to Dallas Cowboy camp this week. I went over there a couple of times to make sure they're doing some things right. And as soon as they saw me up in the stands, they saw me. Guess what they did? They went to the first of the line, because you got to lead by example. I'm teaching you. If you start teaching kids some good moral values and things, it'll never leave you. It'll never leave you. So it'll be a part of you and who you become.
You're teaching the youngsters to hate the Philadelphia Eagles, basically. From a young age. That's what I gather.
No, my point being in Philadelphia, the weeks I was there, Harold Carmichael was my roommate. So I'm teaching them the things of true value that you can have for life. And I think football goes along with the quality of life. But yeah, one thing I can say back when we was in training camps in the 80s, you learn so many great values of things that you can have for life. And I think that's the best thing for a young kid to do. It. You pick up good habits. But one of the first things I do every morning is make up my bed as soon as I get out. Things like that. You pick up your shoes. You don't have shoes laying around your room. I mean, little things like that will carry you all throughout your life. In fact, Jack, hold on, Jack.
Uh-oh. You're in trouble now, Jack.
This is
wow,
a football I lay my head on. So we can.
Yeah, that's okay. I can go for that. That's a nice backdrop. You invoked one of the great names in Eagle history, Harold Carmichael. I mean, you think of the modern play, even though Terrell Owens isn't a modern play as opposed to a Harold Carmichael. Harold Carmichael, at least the players of that era, didn't strike me as eye guys at all. Yeah. I mean, every receiver wants the ball, and they could communicate that at times, but there has to be a fine line not to overdo it. And it's really, I think, up to the quarterback to control the guy and basically say, shut up, in no uncertain terms. And because, but one of
I did 5 football camps for Terrell Owens. And one of the things I think he just hadn't been around the right people. I think he became humble in some aspect of how he became as a man. But one of the things that I really appreciate about him is him thinking that he's always the best. I think a lot of receivers thinking they're the best. I think, you can argue with a lot of people of who the best or who can do this, who can do that, because I think so many people have brought so many dynamic styles and ability to the game of football. But I also think that, it's you just as good as your last play. And this game could take you out in 1 year or 2 years or 10 years. And you got to understand that it's a temporary fact that you're not going to play football forever. But when you play, you got to make the most of it. So I just think some individuals don't understand that. But once you become a mature-minded guy, you got to just say, I got to get out of football the most I can get out. And because it really don't owe any of us. Only thing that you got to be happy about, you is a part of something that's great, and people consider this great, and you know, and I take that to the, you know, I think some guys got to understand the nature of the beast.
Well, you know, you're more of an authority on wide receivers than Pags and myself. I mean, there's a pretty good one out there that could be gotten for nothing, Antonio Brown. Would you take a fly on him if you're some team? Would you grab him? Is it worth the headache? You wouldn't have to pay him a lot.
Well, if I was GM or a coach or something, I would talk to him first, and then after I have a conversation with him, I would consider if I want him or not. I would definitely have to sit down and have an hour talk with him just to see where his mind is and see if he would fit into the vision of this team. And if he doesn't, then you know it's a lot of great players out there who would fit. So
can you imagine him with Aaron Rodgers if he went to Green Bay. You know, I'm just saying it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many factors that would be considered. But you know, I've seen Bill Parcells and some other great coaches don't take receivers because of their problems off the field or what they bring into the locker room. And I think that's
I wouldn't sign him. I would keep clear of Antonio Brown. That's just me.
Yeah.
But what he can deliver for a team, the temptation is so great because you wouldn't have to give up draft choices. You could easily fit him in under the cap.
Right.
And, you know, if he could behave himself or whatever. But the problem is, you'd be underpaying him for what he would be giving you.
Right.
And then that'd be kind of that tension, kind of like as a 1-year rental, like a one and done, but it's not worth the headache. With that said,
I'm gonna say this though.
Shame on me for bringing it up.
That's fine, but the act that he did last year, that cut the cake. That I wouldn't consider him after he did
shirt
that.
Off by
yeah,
taking
I wouldn't consider him after he did that. No.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I thought that was the end of his football career right there, and that
and it was
short of just going on with the team just because the team wanted to get some information about Tampa. That would have been, you know, completely it. I think that he's done, and that those acts have gotten old now.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, football players are transitioning into boxing. Le'Veon Bell is going to be boxing Adrian Peterson in a real fight. Le'Veon Bell says he's retiring from football to concentrate full-time on his boxing career. Well, the reason he's retiring from football because he's not good anymore. Point blank. He's just not good. He was good years ago with the Steelers. He has had opportunities with the Jets, the Chiefs. Forget about him.
Yeah.
He's no good. And he's going to find out how skillful it is to box. Of course, him and Adrian Peterson could look good against one another. I mean, I can get some guys and we could go out onto an NFL field and I could get some of my friends. We might look good against one another. You know, you go against a real player. Come on.
And I'm going to say this. For running backs age 30 to 32, you know, you're almost sticking a fork in you. So.
Yeah, I mean, these guys don't get it. I mean, it's, but what the heck, if it can make them money, I'm not against it. If people want to tune in and watch them, that's their business.
I think me and Jericho might need to put some boxing gloves on. I know I'm quicker than he is.
Yeah,
it would be the speed against the power.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, if you look for weakness in Jeff Coat, I guess it was the speed.
Yeah.
Jeff Coat got 107 sacks in his career. But it should be pointed out, how many sacks did he get when the quarterback was out of the pocket? 3, 4? I mean,
probably a handful.
Run the quarterbacks down. He had that good first step, and he caught him in the pocket. Or they stepped up, and Jeff Coat was there.
Yeah, watching a boxing match like that would be like watching the movie Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Not the movie Rocky Balboa. And Rocky's like, when he's training against it, they did that fake fight, and then he went to do that fight for real. Yeah. So, see, he even knows look at that. He even knows the movie really well. So, Hey, Byron, I know we came on late here, but thank you very much for coming in. You know, we appreciate you coming on every Friday. And maybe next Friday you'll get to see Mac. If not, you get to see my pretty face again.
I'm going to want to hear, it's early yet, but I'm going to want to hear Byron's prediction of who's going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, he's going to come up with a prediction this time yet. You know, it's kind of early in the process. But last year, Byron was bragging over his pick when it started. Well, the Arizona Cardinals, they were tearing up the league, and Byron was looking like a genius because we didn't see it going.
First 12 weeks.
And then Kyler Murray, what the heck happened to him? Talk about a quarterback stock going down from being on the rise to being on the way to being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He just shut down. What the heck happened?
I know.
I don't know.
I know. I tell you, but I have it all packed up. I had my receivers list this week that I worked on. AJ Brown is one of my receivers for the Eagles, and of course, Devontae Smith. I love him. So we'll see what happens.
The only thing before you go, just one last thing: can 2 star receivers coexist on a team? Because we have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. If they're friends? I guess they can. Yeah. But in Miami, you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That could, something might go down there if one guy, feels he's being diminished.
The Eagles got a best. They got 2 of the best sets of receivers on the team this year. I do believe that, and I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen. I hope Jalen Hurts can stay healthy and easy can pinpoint that football for those guys. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to watch football. I'm glad training camp's starting up, and I'm just happy that there's football atmosphere in the air. Everybody can get this paint on their face, and we're gonna have some fun this year.
Exactly. In fact, I'm getting ready to go up to Canton, Ohio, to go watch the Hall of Fame and get that's like the initial. That's like the the start of the season.
Yeah, so, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Exactly. Well, Byron, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again on next Friday.
I'm finna go to sleep. You guys have
like that.
Thanks, Byron. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Take care, Byron.
All right.
And all right, so let's go to a quick commercial break. We're gonna, we're already running a little bit behind, but we got Keith already in the wings waiting to come on. So we'll be back here after these commercial messages, and we'll get right back to Keith Engel from TGI Sports. I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride Experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
When you drive to Wendy's and order a single, you get more beef than the Whopper or the Big Mac. At Wendy's, you never have to ask, where's the beef?
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it, I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
Anyone else?
My name is David, and in 8 years, I'll be an alcoholic.
Hi, David.
I'll start drinking in middle school, just at parties. But my parents won't start talking to me about it till high school. And by then, I'll already be in some trouble.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults.
The thing is, my parents won't even see it coming.
So start talking.
Who's next?
Before they start drinking.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
And we are back with some very interesting music. See, I'm just pushing buttons sometimes. We get some funny music coming on here. And with this funny music on, I am going to bring on our guest that happens every Friday, Keith Engel from TGI Sports, and start it up every morning. How are you, Keith?
Good morning. Good morning. I love the music. That was awesome.
Yeah, the dance pop music. I was just like, ooh, just getting all excited. And
Jack was doing a little chair dance in there.
No, I was answering a text. You know, I wonder about the ratings because people who should be watching, who know me, they call me, they text me during the show like over and over. I mean, they tell me they watch, but why would they be private messaging me like I'm supposed to get back to them while the show's going on?
But you're a popular guy, Jack. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
People need you now.
Yeah, well, and they're texting you because they want. I guess they want to get their text on the show. So, trying to probably tell you, yeah, they're acting as program director. So, anyways, Keith, it's good to see you. The first thing we wanted to talk about, or that I was going to bring up to you, I know we had our show early this morning, but I wanted to talk about something that was really important and talked on the show here yesterday, the running of the Bulls. And, you know, Jack was posing the question to Byron, which would you rather do? Would you rather skydive, jump out of an airplane, or run with the Bulls?
Well, I guess, you know, running with the Bulls is a little like running away from a bear, right? If I'm with multiple people, I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just got to be faster than the other people I'm with. But the Bulls aren't going to stop, I guess. You know, the bear's going to stop and eat the guys you're with. The Bulls aren't. So I don't know. I think I'd have to jump out of an airplane because, you know, even if I splatter on the ground, it's got to be better than getting gored by a bull. I mean, I'm trying to use some logic to this, but I know you want to run with the Bulls, Jamie. So I've
already been skydiving.
What was Jack's answer? That's what I'd like to know.
No, I run with the Bulls. I mean, I like these hypotheticals. We never asked you the football question. If you were sentenced for committing a crime, you'd never commit one, but unjustly, and your punishment had to be this. You had to cut the middle and get flattened by a Ray Lewis type player, the meanest hit possible on you. One hard hit, or be on the bottom of the pile for, like, let's say 1 minute, like a fumble, and everyone's trying to get the ball off you, like bending your fingers, poking you in the eye, choking you. Which would you take? Would you take the one hard hit to get it over with? Jeff Coates says take the one hard hit and get it over with. Byron, you know, he would take the bottom of the pile.
I kind of agree with Byron. I feel
Byron had his jaw broken cutting the middle once, so that influenced his decision.
Yeah, I feel like if I could get on the bottom and kind of, curl up a little bit, I might be able to kind of just survive a minute, but I'm not going to get any straight shots. And quite frankly, Ray Lewis could probably kill me with one good shot to the face. So I guess I take my chances at the bottom of the pile and hope I could kind of get in a fetal position and survive.
Pags, what about you? Bottom of the pile or the one hard hit to get it over?
So when we played football and back in the day, now I'm older now, much older now, but we used to play this game called Muckle, where you guy with the ball would be the one that would get crushed, and there would be plenty of times where I'd be holding on to the ball, and then people start jumping on your back, and nobody ever really takes you out on your legs when you're playing Muckle. They all just start piling on. So, and I was one time, I'm like holding the ball and there's like literally like 22 people on my back, and then you finally give way. And,
these kids games, I remember in junior high school, there's this game called Knucks where they take the cards and hit your knuckles hard. Okay. Until they'd be bleeding. And I remember I once decided I was going to get into the card game. I'm winning, but I didn't know the rule was you're not allowed to leave until you lose. What kind of motivation is that? So, get my knuckles all bruised up.
Now, I do have a question for Pags, though. I know this is a wonderful segment here, by the way. I love it.
Yeah. The best in
How old were these kids that you were playing Muckle with?
We were all about the same age. I want to say, this is a long time ago, so probably like 13, 14 years old.
There wasn't a Ray Lewis there going to knock you into.
No. But we were playing Muckle, so we were being at the bottom of the pile. So nobody was trying to really break my fingers or anything like that. And, it was more of a,
Ray Lewis has a history of being around double homicides, but maybe that's a different part of the story. I don't know. So I don't want to be involved with Ray Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel. I know that at the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago, when I went to the Pro Bowl, and I know that I wear my shoulder pads and football pants and stuff like that, that there was a part of me that said I'd love to be able to try to get an NFL player or allow an NFL player to tackle me, and do like a one of those, not quite what's it, the Oklahomas, where you're both on your back, and let's do an Oklahoma, but at least let's not do it within 3 yards. Give me like a 5 yard so that because I know that a football player is going to get up a lot faster and be on top of me faster than I'm going to be able to even get up off of the ground. So give me a little bit of a break on that regard, but give me a chance to get up and try to do a little juke or do whatever to see if I can get past him. And of course, they won't let you do that because they don't want the players to get hurt. They also don't want me to get hurt. And, I'm a little older than they are. So they wouldn't allow that to happen. However, I still think that would be fun to do once, just to get hit by an NFL player, to feel what it's like to be, to feel that. You don't know what it's like until you really feel it.
Let me ask Keith this. Switching back to the topic you asked me about the Yankees, am I a little concerned they lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds? Keith, are you maybe thinking you copped the plea deal with Mac a little earlier than you could have, that you could have maybe held out a little bit longer? What happened?
He wound up freezing. He'll be right back.
I think he got up. Yeah, I think he's seeing his attorney on this, whether he should have copped the deal. Get his
I don't know what happened there. Everybody went spinning on me, and then I was gone.
Yep.
Are you the second half of the season with the Yankees, can you see a scenario where they come down to earth enough that at some point we're saying, wow, the Yankees are only 5 games up in the playoff position?
I think he's freezing up on us.
He's thinking. I don't think he's freezing up. He's thinking.
I don't know what's going on here today, guys. My internet is usually very, very good.
Yep.
And what's the answer? What about the Mets? Matt got on me yesterday because Francisco Lindor is having a good year. I mean, his batting average doesn't reflect it. He's hitting the 240s, but he's put up good power numbers, homers, RBIs. He's been good defensively. And Mac is laughing at me. He says, now do you have any regrets about what you said about him signing a 10-year contract, which I thought was ludicrous at $31 million a year? And I'm telling Mac, of course, I wouldn't be surprised he's good the first few years of the 10-year contract. You don't look at the beginning of the contract, how a guy performs. These guys who sign the 10-year deals are usually always good in the beginning. That's why they gave him the deals. They don't fall apart immediately. It's the back end of the contract, the second half of it, which makes it an awful deal. And besides, as good as Lindor's been, is he a $31 million a year player? $31 million a year. That's superstar money. Okay? And he's not, and even taking this year into account, if he's going to perform every year the way he's done this year, he's still not quite a $31 million a year player, even if he goes all 10 years like this. But Mac is saying, oh, you see, I was right. For them to give Lindor the 10-year contract. You were wrong. I wasn't wrong about it. Of course, he's not going to be a complete bust in the beginning of the contract. He's going to be a good player for 3-4 years, and then he's going to be an average player, midway in the contract, and it's a terrible contract.
I apologize, guys. I think the Yankees are monitoring this broadcast, and every time I start to speak about what Jack asked me, they throttle my internet.
Let's go to a simpler one, Keith. I asked Pags, are you going to watch the Jeter? I'm sure you will. The Jeter documentary, the series coming up.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
What's your impression of Jeter going into the documentary?
Going into it without seeing anything of it.
Anything, yeah.
Look at, he's one of to me, is he one of the best players in the history of baseball? No. Is he one of the great winners and leaders in the history of baseball and sports? Yes. Derek Jeter is the type of guy who's right about sports. He gets it. I always say he gets it. Aaron Judge is another guy. He gets it. They don't, he led by example. He wasn't really loud, although I read a great article about how he got in David Wells' face here when Wells first joined the team, and he kind of showed somebody up on the field, and Jeter very quietly went over and got in his face on the pitcher's mound, which, again, you don't know about those things, but they happened.
I don't know, getting in his face. Getting in his face makes it obvious, and Jeter wouldn't make it obvious.
I mean, he got in his face. He got up in his face and said his thing. He didn't get, they didn't get it over thing.
From what I got, he was talking about to Wells about embarrassing his teammates. But do you think
do that
there's but there's also what bothers me. There's a little bit of a myth sometimes surrounding Jeter. And don't misunderstand me. Great Yankee for a lot of years, so he had to be one of my favorites. But they talk about Jeter. Oh, Jeter, the greatest clutch player, always comes through in the clutch. I think they overdid it because I remember there was one season where Jeter made the final out of the game with the tying run in position, something like 8-9 times. And then he finally gets a hit after that to drive in a guy with the game on the line and scoring position. And they would be gushing, oh, Derek Jeter does it again. He comes through in the clutch. What about the 8-9 times before that when he didn't? But we didn't hear about that.
Any player who comes through like that and gets that type of reputation, people are going to remember when he did come through and when he didn't. I could say the same thing about Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Right? I mean, look at, he didn't come through every time, and nobody comes through every time. Just because you're Mr. Clutch doesn't mean you got to come through every single time. Nobody's going to do that. I do think, listen, the epitome of Derek Jeter's career was the play against the A's in the World Series where he got that errant throw and the flip to get the guy at home plate. People will tell you, the people who hate Derek Jeter will tell you that's because he was out of position and didn't know where to be on the play. Bullshit. My French, sorry. That's BS. You can't. You great. I get worked up when I have to talk about this topic. He's just got great presence of where he is on the field and what's happening in front of him, and he put himself in a great position to make a great play.
Well, you know what it is about Jeter,
That's the
too.
epitome of his career right there. That play is all about Derek Jeter right there. That's in it's not one single moment in time. That's Derek Jeter's career in my mind.
Unlike other players, Jeter has specific highlights, legacy highlights that other guys don't have. He's always compared to A-Rod. At their best, A-Rod was the better player. Let's be honest.
Better numbers, yes.
And better defensively on the field as well. Okay?
Yes.
But A-Rod, it's hard to find a highlight for A-Rod that we're going to think back on. With Jeter, you mentioned, Keith, that flip play against Oakland. I talked with Pags earlier, diving into the stands to catch against the Red Sox.
Another one.
A ball hit between in the hole. That leap throw, the highlight about that. I mean, the Mr. November home run. You know, he had these highlights that stand out. And very few players, the greatest players of all time, very few of them have highlights. Even the great Willie Mays, he had that one highlight, that over-the-shoulder catch that we remember. Jeter had several of them. And how many players have highlights, period, over a whole career?
Yeah, and a lot of that circumstances, and that's not to take anything away from Jeter. He was on a great team where you remember the place because everybody was watching them, right? They didn't happen in July at 11 o'clock at night on the West Coast. And Reggie was kind of the same way. His big moments are remembered because they happened in front of huge audiences. And that's not to take anything away from either one of them. They're both great clutch players. Does he have that? Did he have the numbers or even close to the numbers of A-Rod? No. Was he a better defensive player than A-Rod? No. Jeter, if there's one thing about Jeter that's probably overrated, is his defense. Because, he, especially later in his career, I mean, he got the less balls than maybe most shortstops in baseball. But he made the plays. He made the routine plays, which you need to make, right? That's all you need.
He was solid. Unbalanced as a defensive player. If we had to give him a grade like he went to school, we could say he was a B.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And that's good enough. That's good enough. Yeah.
At face value.
The guys would like. Yeah, I'm sorry, Patty. So the guys like Jeter, though, what makes him great is the intangibles that you just can't look at on a stat sheet. You can't look at and say, wow, that just jumps out at the page off you. You're never going to do that. You have to have watched Derek Jeter play every day for 20 years to really appreciate him, in my mind. And too many people don't. And the people that hate him are nuts. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. These are the guys that are all the things that are right about sports. There's so many bad acts in sports. The Ray Lewis's we just talked about, and we come up with 100 more. But we want to knock the guys down who are right and play the game the right way, and they want to knock them down.
I don't think people want to knock him down. They've elevated him maybe to the plateau higher than he should be on.
In some of the groups that I've seen, Jeter.
You're always going to have people like that, no matter who it is.
Red Sox fans all hate him, for crying out loud.
No,
that's where I was going to go. Who was the better shortstop? Jeter, Nomar Garciaparra.
Yeah, Jeter, easy. That one's easy.
Well, I think Cal Ripken and Jeter is a more intriguing comparison. That's very intriguing.
Cal Ripken was a third baseman, wasn't he?
He ended his career at third, but he was a shortstop for the majority of his career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which made his consecutive game streak all the more impressive, is that he did it at one of the most important positions on the field. That's a good comparison, Jack. I mean, the thing that sets them apart, obviously, is the winning, and that isn't always about that one individual player, right? But I think that's a good comparison, and I love Cal Ripken. I thought he was a great player. Also limited range-wise at shortstop, but because there were two big shortstops, there weren't a lot of guys. Ripken was a big guy. Jeter was a big guy.
What do you make out of his relationship with Alex Rodriguez? That's an intriguing part of this documentary because Jeter never talked about it. I'm just going to tell you my spin on it. I think it's more than the remark that A-Rod made originally for the magazine interview he did, because I remember there were a lot of obscure remarks that seemed obscure that A-Rod said over the years with the Yankees. I remember once in the New York Post, and it didn't have any controversy at all. A-Rod said, it's Jeter's team as far as him being the captain, but, I can't worry about his feelings otherwise. Little remarks like that A-Rod would continue to make, not as a dig at Jeter, I don't think, because it just was A-Rod not thinking, to zip it completely.
Well, look, the problem with A-Rod, he's one of the most disingenuous people I've ever watched speak. I never think what he says is what he actually means. Everything sounds like a backhanded compliment, and A-Rod, I just don't have a lot of use for A-Rod. I wasn't happy when he came to the Yankees. I'm not really.
I mean, I'm gonna throw this by both you guys. And I like to use this as an example. If we had to take a car ride cross country, all of us, and we needed like a passenger to keep us company, to just talk, to hang out, I think we'd get along better with A-Rod, because I think you could joke around more with him, have laughs. I think you have to be a little more guarded with Jeter, because you'd be concerned not to say the wrong thing. With A-Rod, I think we could be more ourselves in this company. That's just my impression.
I think I'd be thumbing a ride after about 15 miles is what I think. I don't think I could ride across the country with A-Rod based on what I've seen. And again, I've got some experience in this type of thinking, because my wife knows this. I judge people that I don't know by whether I'd want to sit and have a beer with them.
Right, that's what I mean. Okay, I tried to give that example.
So, yeah, your example's good, though, too, right? But this is the way I always do it. Do I want to sit and have a beer with A-Rod or Jeter? I don't want to have a beer with A-Rod. I don't. He's not going to tell me what he really thinks. I don't know that Jeter is either, but I think it would be a more interesting conversation. And I think in a one-on-one situation, Jeter might actually be an interesting conversation. A-Rod's not going to be interesting. He's just going to talk about himself and make little disingenuous comments about whomever. I love playing with Derek, and he was such a great leader on that team where A-Rod always thought he was the guy.
If I had to choose between the two of them, I would choose Jeter too.
Yeah. A-Rod.
I wouldn't mind being his wingman, Jeter's wingman. I don't know if I'd want to be A-Rod's wingman.
Well, you might want him to give the gift baskets out, right? If you're gonna be his wingman, tell him to bring one for you too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. Jeter said that gift basket thing is a myth. It never existed.
I was on the post. It had to be real.
Yeah, and reportedly, what's going to be upcoming in the documentary is Jeter was at a Starbucks, and a guy behind them just joked, said, "Yeah, I do that with the women too. I give them gift baskets like it works for me." And Jeter told him to go bleep himself. He was like annoyed because it's a myth. It never.
It probably is. I agree. Probably is. It's just fun. It's fun. It's a fun topic, and he probably hates it, but it's fun to talk about.
I mean, but I could tell you something. At some point before the documentary, Jeter could have said, "I don't know why they said that. That never existed. I never did anything."
Maybe he'll say it. Maybe he'll say in the documentary.
He does say in the documentary, from what I understand, it never existed. But he could have said it before the documentary. So sometimes he don't speak up because he don't want to dignify something, but the myth could grow.
And to be honest with you, you know what? He should have some fun with it. He should have a sense of humor about it and have some fun with it. And he would up himself in other people's eyes as well. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Just have some fun with it.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I think that there is an air of truth to that story somewhere. Yeah, like that. One of the girls probably he's like just to try to get rid of. He's like, or she wanted a bunch of stuff on the way out. Like it was probably one of those things, and she was a fan. And she's like, "Hey, can you sign this for me? Can you get this for me?" And he's like giving her stuff to get her out of the house.
Well, I'm going to say this. At my accountant, in his office, okay, there's some pictures from years ago taken with some of the New York baseball players. Johnny Franco is smiling, looking great, Brooklyn guy, down to earth. Posada is with my friend, the accountant, and he's looking okay, making an effort to smile. Jeter's in the photo, It looked like it pained Jeter to be in the photo. It looked like he was so disinterested, like it was like a complete bother. But he had this photo taken, no smile, no reaction, like all the air like this.
I get a lot.
It looked awful. But with that said, photos can be very deceiving.
Exactly.
I had a photo where I presented Manny Pacquiao the Fighter of the Year award from the Boxing Writers Association of America. Pacquiao's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and we're both smiling like we have this great bond. Our bond lasted about 1 second. That's about all it lasted. He wasn't as happy and as warm and fuzzy as the photo would have appeared, so that could be deceiving.
Pictures are very deceiving. I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures where people look that I know were having a very good time at a party, and I saw a picture and they looked like they were miserable. So it's literally a snapshot in time, and anything could have been going on that made him make that face that time. Anything. So,
well, I feel like it's it's going to be interesting to watch his documentary and things like that. I can imagine that it's going to garner a lot of interest from the Yankee faithful and just the people who kind of grew up watching Derek Jeter. Like anybody who watched baseball in the 90s or 2000s and then the 2010s. I mean, he's been an icon and was the face of the Yankees for a long time. And I think that in itself is worth watching.
Now, something I don't know is he involved in the production of this and has some editorial oversight?
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But the one area that he would not have wanted to talk about was the A-Rod situation. But he knows they couldn't make the documentary without talking about it. The same way in The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, he never wanted to talk about Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
He kind of kept it short but sweet, but he kind of addressed it. I don't think they tackled it as much as they could have with Jordan, because I think Jordan has such clout. He would have said, screw the documentary, I don't have to do it. I think ESPN wanted the documentary a lot more than Jordan. I think Jeter's trying to stay relevant somewhat now, and that was a motivation for him to do this documentary. Also seeing what it did for Michael Jordan, That
was my one problem with The Last Dance, which was really, really good, was the fact that Jordan had editorial oversight over a lot of that.
Too much control. Control.
And I think that I want to see these things without that. I want to see the Derek Jeter story that people don't necessarily know, or I shouldn't say, maybe we know, but without his editing things. Michael Jordan, the Tom Brady Man on Fire series on ESPN is terrific. But
Brady's not a controversial guy in any real way when you think of it. He's really not a controversial guy, Brady.
No, I get that, but he still had, again, editorial oversight over it, and I think it'd have been much more interesting without that. And I love
Brady's documentary didn't have any real soap opera connotation. Only the Bill Belichick thing, perhaps. How he left New England, that would have been the only thing they could have really gotten into more.
Is a huge part of Tom Brady's story, and it can't be whitewashed by Tom Brady. That's my only gripe with those. All of them were well done. Last Dance was a great series. It's just that little piece. I just wonder how much more I could have gotten out of that if he didn't have that oversight. That's all.
Yeah, and like what really happened when he retired, the first time. What was the real story with that? We all know and we can all imagine, but we don't know. You know what I mean? And that would be worthwhile.
Well, who are we talking about? Jordan now? Or?
Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan. Well, he wanted to play baseball. We know that was that. He got tired.
I think he went to go play baseball because the NBA couldn't have him on there and found out.
Yeah,
with the gambling.
Take a year off. It's a lot of people believe that, Jack.
Wow. But he came back. The gambling thing didn't go away. Plus, they weren't going to kick Jordan out of the league. He was the marquee guy. David Stern always leaned over backwards for Jordan.
Well, this is their way to do it without having to suspend him. So they told him to go play baseball for a year. Well, not go play baseball for a year, but said, you're going to get suspended, so you might better retire, and then we won't suspend you. I think it's possible. I don't know. I think it's plausible that happened.
I agree. In fact, I'm almost certain that it did. You know, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to Michael Jordan. I care less. But
I want to ask Keith. Keith, I want to ask Keith about the Yankees here. I don't know whether you saw last night's game, Keith.
I did.
But Matt Carpenter in right field cannot be there anymore.
I don't. That play he made, he could have thrown that guy out easy.
And then the ball hit in the gap late in the game. He couldn't even cut it off. Any big leaguer cuts that off.
Well, that was a worse route to a ball I'd ever seen. I mean, I would have thought he'd never played baseball, much less right field, before watching him on that play.
You finally have come around, Keith, after all season holding out against what I said about bringing Gotti back. You're seeing the logic where they could have used Gotti for late innings. Carpenter did hit a home run at the end to tighten the game up.
He did, and Carpenter's been a good addition to this team. Again, but you're right, he cannot play right field ever again.
Yeah.
Not after that horror show last night. No.
Oh. Holding on to the ball while the guys are running the bases? Thinking at that moment, where am I going to throw it while I'm holding it and the guys are running?
The whole thing was, I mean, he caught it. When he caught it, he was standing flat-footed, right? He was really unsure what to do from the beginning. He didn't know which base. He looked like, I'm going to second, and then he said, wait a minute, I got to shot the guy at home. Well, you did. You don't anymore.
What we did at Little League, guys, you just throw it home if you're not sure.
Right.
That's the base you go to if you're not sure.
He actually made a decent throw once he made it, but it was
I'm going to tell you what people don't point out, small things. Again, and we were talking about Jeter, iconic players. I saw a week ago, the Orioles are playing the Angels. I'm watching that game in extra innings over there. The Angels are up by 1 run. There's a man at second base. It hit the center field. Mike Trout doesn't hit the cutoff man, and he throws home. The tying run comes in. That Trout probably couldn't have thrown out anyway on any circumstance. But the guy who gets the hit winds up at second, and then he scores on a hit right after that. No one called Trout out for not hitting the cutoff man, for not keeping the guy at first base. So it's a tie game, but at least the winning run isn't in scoring position. No one says a word, and those little things tend to escape us.
They do matter, and it's part of what's wrong with baseball today is that fundamentals like that are lost, and they don't get brought up. They just get, like you said, Jack. They just get brushed over, or we just go on to the next topic because we can't call out Mike Trout. Well, yeah, you can.
He's still a ball player. You know what I mean? He's still got to do all the things right, and when he makes those mistakes. Thank God they don't happen that often, you know what I mean, or else that would really start to be a detriment to what he stands for baseball. But they do happen sometimes. I got to imagine that even the best players make mistakes.
Listen, I miss the days of the announcers, even the home team announcers. When Jim Cott, Tony Kubek, Tim McCarver, when they were doing Yankee games, Tim McCarver did a lot of Met games. And one of the reasons they didn't do Yankee games for a long, long time is they would call the Yankees out of the stuff that they would do. And in ownership, Mr. Steinbrenner didn't like that. He wanted guys who would be homers. And that's how you get guys like, John Sterling doing the radio for 50 years.
Are you a Sterling fan or you're not a Sterling?
I am not a John Sterling fan. Because you know, if radio baseball, you have no way to know what's going on in the game. Listen to John Sterling. None. Zero.
I like to look at someone objectively. Me listening to him on the radio, I enjoy him. I don't listen to the Yankees that much on the radio. But John Sterling, before he became a Yankee announcer back in the day, when I was very young, he was a talk show host. Worst I ever heard. He was a total rear end kisser, 100%. And even though he was the only game in town, he would tell people, you don't like me, don't listen to me. After a while, I didn't listen to him, even though I didn't have any other alternative. I couldn't stand the guy. I gave him my own self-nickname, Sellout Sterling.
Yeah, well,
he was a complete butt kiss. And I'll go a step further. And I can look at the guy objectively. I love Sterling as a radio announcer, so I can look at him objectively. You don't? Okay.
Don't.
Let me go a step further. Mike Francesa was an eloquent gentleman as a talk host show compared to Sterling, and that could tell you a lot, knowing how condescending Francesa is. He's very condescending, Francesa, but at least I can listen to him, and I'm not going to, say I don't want to hear Francesa anymore because he's a complete this or that. But with Sterling, that's what he really was at the time.
Sterling, listen, I grew up listening to baseball. I still like baseball on the radio. Baseball is a great radio sport. When I was a kid, it's not like we didn't have TV, by the way, Pags. I'm not as old as Jack. We just didn't get the games up here.
We had the little transistor radios.
There was no cable TV. I'd go to bed with a transistor radio under my pillow, and I'd listen to baseball. I'd pick up the Yankee game, and then I could get Pittsburgh sometimes at night on KDKA. I'd listen to Bob Prince, and sometimes I'd get Jack Buck down in St. Louis, believe it or not, if everything was right in the universe. But that's when and you could listen to a game, and they painted a picture for you. John Sterling, line drive, it's high, it's far, and you watch the replay the next day. It was a line drive, to the left fielder that barely got to the wall. He's called home runs that aren't home runs. He's doing commercials while guys are running the bases. And,
I didn't realize that. I mean, because you can't.
Oh gosh, it's gotten to be a train wreck, and it's gotten worse as he's gotten older. And they're cutting back on it. He's not going to travel, I don't think, anymore for road games the second half of the season, except maybe a couple. But you got to sometime go Google some. There's times, his signature at the end of the game is the Yankees win. The Yankees win, right? His big yelling it out. And there's all these great clips on Google, at least a few, where he does this, and then he kind of sits down and he looks around looking to see who's watching him do it. And I mean, the guy is he's.
This is insane. I don't forgive him from the 1970s.
You might go
back then.
You might go 3 innings and he doesn't even give the score. I mean, you're doing radio.
But I enjoy him, but he's entertaining on the radio to me because
entertaining, yes.
Talking and he entertains. He doesn't bore me with a strict play-by-play call. That's the thing about it. So I enjoy listening to him and Susan Walden. I actually like him as a radio, Yankee announcer.
But I need to know what's going on in a ball game too, along with being entertained. I mean, it's a score here and there would help me.
Oh, listen, we can't let you go without talking about the Knicks, Keith. I say that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Donovan Mitchell thing is all just a lot of smoke with the Knicks. Nothing is happening, and I don't think it's going to come close to happening. Maybe I'm proven wrong here. I can't see how this gets done.
I think if he gets traded, it will be to the Knicks. But the thing is, Danny Ainge is very famous, and he did this in Boston all the time. First, he'd say guys were unavailable. Then he'd change his mind and say, oh, nope, so-and-so's available. And then he'd make it clear that I want 2 of your starting players and I want 117 first-round draft picks. So he'd always ask for way too much. And then the deal wouldn't get done because he was just out there fishing.
I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, Keith Pags, hurt the rest of the league with that crazy haul that they gave to Utah for Rudy Gobert. The equivalent of 5 number 1 draft picks. Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, and a couple of more players. 9 players for 1, and 7 of them are of quality. 7 were of quality, and the only draft pick that's protected is the last one in 2029. The others are unprotected draft picks. I mean, it's a crazy haul, and I'm going to be honest about it. If the deal for Gobert was never made, and if I were the Nets, I would have done that for Kevin Durant at the time, and he's better than Rudy Gobert.
There was a rumor yesterday the Knicks or what they'd offered, and Utah was actually considering, and I find it hard to believe, was Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gay, who, by the way, I probably got better knees than Rudy Gay, and I'm going to be 62 here pretty soon, for Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, Obi Toppin, Miles McBride, the Knicks 23, 25, and 27 first-round draft picks, which are unprotected. And then the Mavericks 23 pick, which is protected, top 10 protected. And the Wizards 23. So 5 first-round draft picks, 2 of them protected. I don't think they're going to take – they might take that trade with the draft picks, or they're not taking that player list back. I got to believe I don't think they get this trade done without Barrett, and I'm not trading Barrett.
No. But you didn't mention Barrett's name in this trade.
No, but that's why I don't think this trade is real.
But now, let's say they made the deal. The Knicks have to do something drastic because they're not going to build through the draft. And if they do, we're talking about 2035 having a winner. But now they could throw out Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Brunson, Randall. All of a sudden, this is a team that could contend for the East.
I keep Barrett.
But Barrett wasn't part of that deal. The 5 number ones, if you want to take the attitude that number ones in basketball for the most part, it's not like football. I mean, I would think about it. Is Rudy Gay going to give you anything going forward?
He's going to be cut. He won't even make the team.
Okay.
I don't think.
It's a hard deal to make, to give up all that, though.
But if I could get Mitchell Hill without trading Barrett, I've got Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Barrett all under 25 years old, and now I can start attracting other free agents. That's the next biggest problem, is they don't have guys that free agents want to come and play with.
That might be the key, Keith. You mentioned something I didn't even think of. Let's say the Knicks give up a little more than they want, but part of their plan is if they have Mitchell, Barrett, and Brunson long term, a free agent might find it very appealing all of a sudden, and that's how they make it up, by banking on signing, a good free agent or two down the line.
Absolutely. That's why Barrett's a no-go in this trade, and I got to believe he's going to hold out for Barrett, or they're not going to make the trade.
I agree.
Wow, interesting.
The Knicks are going to stink for a lot longer, so you guys are going to be crying.
Man, I think you got a axe to grind here with the Knicks. I don't know.
Yeah,
hey, listen, they've stunk for a while. They're going to continue to stink, and that's just that.
Listen, speak your mind clearly. Let us know what you think there, Peg.
Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, Keith, we appreciate you coming on. We're about to close up here a little bit, but and you can stay on. I actually got some footage from the running of the Bulls.
Oh, Lee, I do want to see it because I'm going to start working out for it right after we get off the show. I'm going to start working out.
There you go. So I actually edited this down, so it's going to be a little bit faster, whatever. But this is what happens in Pamplona. Obviously, yesterday was the last day of the running of the Bulls. It was an 8-day event. This is day 7. Day 8 only had 6 injuries. Day 7 was a little bit more involved, and as you'll see in this video, there were some people
this year. How many?
No fatalities. There hasn't been a fatality since 2009. Actually,
is that right? That
is correct. So they do not get gored, and if they do get gored, they have doctors and everybody right there to make sure that their lives are saved. So, but here is Pamplona's running of the Bulls.
Yeah, I did notice there.
Oh,
A good comment. If you're a guy in red, it's like being on Star Trek. You know, if you wear red, you're dead in Star Trek, and it looked a little like that there, a couple spots.
Yeah, you saw a couple of guys that. That's the thing. You cannot look back. You have to just keep moving forward. Once you keep moving forward, the bulls will run next to you, and you could actually put your hand on the bull and run forward. So I've actually had some friends that have done this, and it is not as hard as it sounds.
Alex, I saw a guy knocked on the ground. The bulls were running over him, the other bulls.
You saw the one guy. The one guy, he got thrown up in the air and came down, and I mean, it's not for the faint of heart.
You saw a couple of those guys who took like 5 steps and headed for the wall and the door.
Yeah, that would be.
This is a bucket list. So, but I also
let me ask you a quick question though on this, because you're probably going to the cheese roll next, I'm guessing. But
I am. I was going to do the rolling of the cheese.
My understanding, you as the running of the bull expert, I read this yesterday. I was not aware of this. That all of these bulls end up like steaks at the end of the day. They kill all these bulls that run the same day.
That is correct. They are running this. They are running to the slaughterhouse, and if so, these bulls all are part of bullfights afterwards. If the bull kills the matador, gores the matador and kills the matador. Not only do they kill the bull, they also kill the bull's mother, so that there is no longer so they can kill the bloodline.
God. Oh my God.
I'm checking out. I'll stay till the end of the show, but I got nothing else.
Well, the other ones say for the cheese doesn't get killed at the end of the next one.
The rolling of the cheese is something that happens in Gloucester, England, on Cooper Hill, where they roll down a wheel of cheese. This is only a minute long, so I'll show that really fast. These are both on my bucket list.
Don't they sell cheese in the stores over there? What's the deal?
That was the 2 winners of the rolling of the cheese in 2022. And both are on my bucket list. So if you are interested in traveling with the Philly Sports Guy next year to the 2023 rolling of the cheese or the running of the bulls, get in contact with me and we can get this all worked out for you.
I think we want video, don't we, Jack, of this?
I am definitely going to have video. I'm going to have a GoPro attached to me somewhere.
Are you going to run as the Philly Sports Guy?
So in Pamplona, I will run as the Philly Sports Guy with the shoulder pads on and the football gear. I'll have to get a white jersey and I'll have to wear a red scarf. Although I did see some green in there, you do have to wear some red. So I'll probably wear like the red scarf with an Eagles logo on it.
Oh gosh!
And then for the rolling of the cheese, I'm not going to be able to wear the shoulder pads or the pads. You can't wear that type of stuff because that actually can create more injury than not.
Well, looking at that, I would think so. Yeah.
But those are the 2 bucket lists. that happened. That's a sport right there. Chasing after cheese.
Does Mac watch these shows when he's not here? Does he know what's actually going on? I'm here swearing in the middle of the show or chasing cheese at the end.
Well, listen, after all of that, the hour is over. So we started with the running of the bulls. We end with the rolling of the cheese.
2 hours over, Pax. 2 hours.
It's 2 hours. Well, and we appreciate Mac will be back again tomorrow. So thank you everybody for sticking with us the entire show. For Jack and for Keith and Byron, we wish you all a great weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one, guys.